Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is the head coach of Team Mihaly. Today's guest is Justin Mihaly. Justin, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, I really appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to chat here.
For sure, Justin. So I'm excited to have you on too, man. We're going to get into some nuts and bolts of coaching and bodybuilding and the sort. I kind of like to kick things off with two questions for all of my guests. The first question I have for you is, who are a few of your favorite bodybuilders of all time?
Yeah. It's funny. I feel like every time I do like an IG Q&A, I get asked like, who do you look up to? Who's your favorite bodybuilder? And it's difficult for me and like yourself, you've been around the industry and a lot of people you've met and a lot of people you might have not the best interactions with. I think Dorian, he has to be the top of my list. He's got to be the top of a lot of people's lists, right? I think the guy's entire journey is pretty amazing. Like the dungeon gym and coming up when he was competing at this national show, which shows back then, I'm not sure if people understand how shows back then worked. You had to qualify for every step. So I live here in Texas, right? I live in Austin, Texas. So you would first do a show local to Austin, and it's only Austin people. And that show qualifies you for like an Austin, Dallas, Houston show. And then you go to that show. And if you win that show, it qualifies you for the whole state of Texas show. And then you win that show and it goes to, like America or your region and then America. That's kind of how things were set up back then. And this dude was like 18, competing naturally and got like 6th or 7th place or something like that at, a large qualifier. That was nuts, man. Like he had it from day one. But with Dorian, he never let off the gas. Like his entire career, he was just training so freaking hard. And back then there wasn't science. There wasn't like performance science, recovery science. There wasn't any of that stuff. Right. He just trained and ate and ate. And he was so far ahead. I still think where the bodybuilding community is a whole right now, I still think Dorian was ahead of where we're at right now in this moment. We still have people arguing over whether RIR training or training to failure is the best. And I'm like, what do you mean? Look, the data is astounding. The data of like real world interaction is astounding. And people are still arguing about which is best. Right. Dorian's got to be up there. Beyond that, I think Chris Bumstead has the greatest physique ever to ever walk the planet. He's also a personal friend of mine, so I'm a little biased there. I think Nick Walker, who's also a personal friend of mine, those are two guys I look up to, but I know how they handle themselves. Sean Clarita as well. He's not a personal friend of mine, but I've been around him a ton and, we have the same sponsorships. So we've been around each other a lot, and the way these guys handle themselves, that's what I look up to the most. Down to earth, very, very, very humble people. And, I've heard people before talk about how they didn't have a positive interaction when they met like Nick Walker or something. You guys got to understand, you might've been the 500th person he met that day. Whenever this guy's out, whenever I've been around him, he's beyond a rock star. And, he just likes bodybuilding, dude. Like C-Bum handles it all way better. Nick is an amazing fucking guy, like a gentle giant. He's a really fucking good guy. So I guess those are kind of the 4 people that I really look up to in bodybuilding.
Excellent, man. Now let's talk about C-Bum for a minute. Cause those are some pretty bold words that you just said in terms of his physique. Yeah. I too, man, like I consume his content. Obviously, I've never met him in person or anything like that, but there's just through YouTube, just through his social media, you can feel that there's something different about him as a human being, right? Like there's this humility, and it's like I've thought this. I personally don't drink beer myself, but I've had this thought because I think I'm like, yes, he's got an amazing physique, and there's the personality, but like, what's so different about him than all the other millions of bodybuilders and great athletes out there? And I came kind of to the conclusion of like, he's the guy that, you could walk into a bar, sit down, have a couple beers with him. And he's 2-time going on 3-time Mr. Olympia. And you, unless you already knew him, you wouldn't even know that. So it's a mixture of humility. There's that charisma, but it comes through even on a screen to me. And I know that's why he's so popular and he has such a huge platform now, not only because of his winning, but just that humility and that uniqueness of his personality. So touch on that a little bit. I know you just kind of mentioned Nick and CBum and being around them, but do you feel the same way when you're actually in person around Chris?
Yeah, definitely. Well, first, I want to touch on something you said. He's going to be 3-time Mr. Olympia. No one's going to touch him. And anyone who's disrespecting his greatness right now, acting like some other person's going to challenge him, is completely inept to judge anything in this sport. It's not close. He's going to be 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. It's not close. He'll win it as long as he wants to. Now, beyond that, I don't care. I don't care who else comes up.
I know. I'm right with you, man.
I don't give a shit.
I'm with you.
And so people need to fucking throw some respect on the dude's name, because this is going to be one of the most dominant eras we've ever seen of bodybuilding. And CBum could also go into the open. He could take a year or 2 off, go into the open and win it there as well. And there's no doubts about that. And I know that because he has never pushed, but I'm not going to talk about those things. So when you're around CBum, what sets this guy apart, I think, is you know who his NFL equivalent would be, is like Tom Brady. You want to go grab a beer with him, you want to go grab a whiskey with him, have a great conversation, really enjoy their company. But the reality is, behind everything, when it's game time, when the lights come on or it's time to practice, he's an absolute fucking killer. He's an assassin. I think it's so dope that he and Terrence Ruffin have the friendship that they do, like the top 2 in the world, and they're going to be the top 2 in the world again this year. Like, I think Robert Timms is amazing. No disrespect on him. I think he'll be 3rd. Those 2 are unbelievable. The reality is Chris wants to absolutely annihilate these guys. He doesn't want it to be close, and he puts the work in and does everything that needs done in order to ensure that happens. But outside of his realm, outside of, that training session, he is just a gentle fucking dude. He's really gently spoken. He doesn't have like this loud, boisterous voice. We're very opposite in that regard. When I walk in the room, you're probably going to hear me. CBum, he's like a quiet assassin. He's like a gentleman. Like, he would be like in the gentleman's club, and like he's just a good dude. Like, every time I've been around him, he's just a good fucking guy. I remember the day after the Olympia last year, we went to Kissimmee Muscle Gym, and Ian and CBum pulled up at the same time. So we get out the car and we're like chatting it up a little bit, and I'm like hyping him up on stuff. He's just like smiling and like enjoying it. And he's just ready to get to his next training session. Like, dude just won the Olympia 12 hours prior. And now he's just ready to get into his next training session. He had to film some content there for, the post Olympia shoot and whatever, but he met everyone who was in my circle. He had you wouldn't know that the day before he just, reclaimed his title as the best in the world. You would have no idea. You truly, if you just met him on the side of the street, you wouldn't have known that was happening. And most people, like, I wouldn't be like that. Like, I'm self-aware enough to realize that, like, where he's at, the humility is very generous. It's very real. It's very true. And I respect that about somebody. I respect that about them a lot. He's really like the Tom Brady of bodybuilding, I feel like, in terms of the personality and the approach.
Great analogy, man. And I appreciate you touching on that, because I'm right with you, man. I respect the physique, but I definitely respect the humility too. And just his willingness to reach out to his fans and give back. So let's transition. I want to touch on what age did you start lifting weights, Justin, and why?
Yeah. So around 10, 11, I started like doing a shit ton of push-ups at the house, push-ups and sit-ups on stuff. I was a real skinny kid, really, really, really skinny. We had a set of weights. We had like a barbell and a set of weights, not like a real barbell, like one of the barbells that you like put the weights on, then you screw like it was awful. And I would do like bicep curls and, like rows and things like that. It was probably all terrible. My dad got a gym membership for us both around that time. So I started going with him. Man, honestly, I was just so skinny and I was a pretty good athlete. I played basketball, played football, I played baseball, I ran track. I was pretty good. And so initially it was like for sports and whatnot, but then, you start getting a little older, you start getting into girls and stuff. And I was like, man, the girls are looking at the more muscular dudes, or the more muscular dudes are getting the chicks that I want to get. And at the reality is we're all skinny at that time. There's like 2 pounds of muscle that separates you and the muscular guy. But that was a large motivating factor for me, is I want to get bigger for the girls. And then it's funny, when I was younger, my mom has talked about when I was younger, I would just like be amazed at like large humans. Like, I don't really remember this a ton. I remember a little bit, just like people who had a lot of muscle on them. I was just amazed by it. And so I guess it was kind of a thing my entire life of just like looking up to people who were, super physiologically muscular wise. That transpired around 18, 19. I ran track at University of Cincinnati. And I just realized I didn't really like it very much. But every time we were in the weight room, I was just so happy. I was always doing extra sets and extra reps and just going all out harder than everyone else. I wanted to perfect my form on everything. I was always down with the strength coaches in between classes, just like picking their brains wherever they would let me. I definitely annoyed all of them at some point, but they all really thought that I had like something different about me. So they let me hang around. And I got into the strength and conditioning stuff and all that. And then one day I just kind of realized that bodybuilding was a thing. I didn't really know that it was a thing. I couldn't have told you, who was Mr. Olympia at the time. I couldn't have told you what divisions there were. I just knew there were bodybuilders. After every single track practice, I would go down in the athlete weight room and I would just lift. And like I wasn't supposed to. I started getting in trouble for it and stuff. I just loved lifting. It made me feel so right. It made me feel like at home. I could control how much better I got immediately. Like I loved the outcome. I loved the pump. I loved seeing new veins and fitting in my shirts differently. Like I just got so addicted to that. And after my sophomore year of track, I sat down with the head coach. We mutually agreed that my best route would be pursuing something fitness related at that time. And then that's when I really like started attacking. I was 165 pounds, 6 foot tall, 165 pounds, fresh out of college track. And I just started training and lifting. I never really thought it would take me here, but I'm glad that it did, obviously.
Absolutely, man. So just touching on, I want to touch on, I always appreciate and value getting a little bit of the backstory of my guests. So would you just share with us, Justin, like, where did you grow up? Like what state, siblings, what kind of shaped the younger years? Obviously you ran track in college, so I'm assuming sports was a big part, but just paint a little bit of the picture of your childhood, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I grew up in Springfield, Ohio. It's a little town in between Dayton and Columbus. It's not a very great place. There's like decently high crime rate and stuff like that, but more so it's just like there's no opportunity there. No one who just stays there forever really achieves much. There's nothing for people. So I knew from a young age I was really a big city guy. Every time we would go to like Columbus for an Ohio State football game or Cincinnati for a Bengals game, like I just loved this city so much. I never wanted to leave. So I'm from Ohio. If you know anyone from Ohio, we all have extreme Ohio pride. I'm not sure what that is, but we all have a chip on our shoulder. Which is fun. I love it. Now it's college football season, so it's extra big. But I don't remember my childhood without sports. Every day was sports. Basketball was my first love. Baseball. I was pretty good at baseball. Tennis, football, golf, everything. I played soccer, everything I did, everything I like practiced actively too. I remember I was a quarterback in football and I would practice throwing drills and stuff that I would just set up in my backyard. And then I was a pitcher in baseball and I would just go over and I would just start pitching. And I got bored with pitching and I would go back and shoot hoops in the front yard. Like I don't really remember not playing sports. When I got too tired to play sports anymore, I'd go inside and I'd play college football on, video games. Like, it's kind of all I did. I was that kid. I definitely thought I was going to work for ESPN one day. I definitely thought I was going to be a sports announcer. But I was just so obsessed with competition. I love, honestly, I've always loved beating other people. There's just nothing that feels better than that, man. Like, it's validation. Childhood wasn't the best. Parents had a pretty awful marriage. A lot of, I think we all kind of regret a lot of things that happened during my childhood, but the reality is you can't go back and change anything. You can only change what you do moving forward. I can't lie, a lot of, I guess how I feel my childhood went, I definitely use as like a dark place to go to when I'm training and when I'm really attacking goals heavily today. It wasn't the best. It wasn't the best, but the reality is, without it, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Like, it drove me to just like, I want to actually achieve something in life. Like, I want to be known for something that's positive. And, I hope to be achieving that. But looking back, I guess the tea leaves were always there that I was going to end up as a bodybuilder and a coach of some point. I was always like the captain of every team. And I was always like hyping people up. And, I was the pitcher, I was the quarterback, I was the point guard. Like, it's kind of the captain of the team. Right. So yeah, I guess it was always there. I never knew what my channel, what my outlet would be. But honestly, like, bodybuilding found me in a really dark place. I know a lot of people have that story, which is really cool about bodybuilding. And man, it gave me hope. It gave me light at the end of the tunnel. And what's wild is here, 8 years after I really started chasing some sort of bodybuilding endeavor, I still have that light at the end of the tunnel that every day I wake up and chase. Bodybuilding is definitely the best thing that happened to me. And like I said, I guess it was always in the cards that this is where I'd end up.
I want to ask you just kind of one thing in terms of your childhood, and then we're just going to dive deep into bodybuilding. But I know we all, man, no matter how good or bad or indifferent our childhood is, like, as we grow up and hopefully mature and go through different experiences and learn, we've all got baggage from our childhood, right, Justin?
Yeah.
How have you, as an adult, looking back and going through your life experiences, how have you kind of been able to let go or release or kind of move on from the difficulties of childhood? And is it still kind of a struggle to this day when you allow your mind to go back to that point?
Yeah. Great question. I think a lot of people allow negative things that happen to them in their past to be a handicap. And the reality is, like I just said, we can't change what happened. We can't change what people did to us or how they treat us or anything like that. We also can't change the fact that we did that to other people too. The reality is we've all been toxic people. We've all been, less than ideal, less than what we would like to be perceived as, less than what we would like to think of ourselves as. If you hold on to the negative things that have happened to you and, hold yourself back because those things did happen and you handicap yourself, all you're doing is allowing these negative things to own your life, to suffocate your life, to give you an excuse as to why you didn't do X, Y, or Z. You're not actually moving forward. You can only move as far as that anchor will let you go. And the anchor is not going to let you go very far. So now you're going to have these trust issues with people and you're going to have X, Y, Z. Dude, the reality is, like, when you grow up and you be an adult and you become a professional in whatever realm, your passions lie, you need to be able to let shit go. You need to be able to be an actual, like, person that you would want to look up to, whether you're in a leadership position or not. You need to be able to let the baggage go. You need to be able to work through it, understand why it happened, and understand not everyone's experience is the same as yours. Like, you never know what other people are going through. And growing up, my parents were going through a lot of bad stuff, a lot of not good stuff. Like, it was always money problems, or it was always, there's some alcohol problems. There was, dude, having kids, it seems stressful as shit. and having kids when they both had like decent jobs and stuff, but it's not like there was all this extra cash flow, right? Like having kids is very expensive. It's very stressful. I guess I grew up and I just realized anything that happened to me, it's not anyone's fault. It was just an evolution of life, and it was a phase of life, right? But the reality is I still use those things to this day. Like I said, I tap into a dark place during a hard training session, and I just like think about things that have happened, things that pissed me off, things or events or people that have wronged me. I just think about those and I channel them for good. I don't get mad at the situation. I just put it out on the training floor. I also think if you're going to be an actual like good bodybuilder, I'm not saying I'm that good of a bodybuilder, but I've won a decent amount. If you're going to be a good bodybuilder, you probably need to have something driving you that's more than just I like working out. You need to be a little bit crazy. You'd be a little fucked in the head to do all this stuff.
Cool.
So really it helps me, gives me an advantage.
Yeah, no, and thank you for touching on that, Justin, because a lot of times on this podcast, we don't get too deep into people's story. We most of my guests just kind of brush over the childhood and we get right into bodybuilding, but that's really, what I value from these conversations. And that's hence the name Behind the Muscle, right? In the world we live in, image is everything, right? And on Instagram, we see all the highlights, we see all the muscle, we see all the, the glitz and the glamour, the highlight reels again. And that's a very small part of reality. And a lot of times on social media, it's not even reality that we're seeing. And the reality is we all have hurt, man. We all have pain. We all have struggles. And there is a story behind the muscle. And that's why I appreciate you, somebody like you, being willing to touch on that and how you've kind of worked through it. Because again, we've all got issues. We've all got struggles. We're all messed up on some level. Nobody's perfect. So thank you for touching on that. All right.
Oh, of course, man. Of course.
Okay. Bodybuilding. So, kind of at that turning point in college, I think you said sophomore year, the track coach was like, hey, Justin, I think you guys both agreed fitness is your thing. So from your sophomore year in college, what did that, moving forward in terms of fitness and bodybuilding look like?
Yeah, so I did an internship with a huge high school football program in Cincinnati, Cincinnati St. Xavier, and they're like always national top 5 in high school football. I did an internship with the Cincinnati Bengals, and I did an internship with UC. And as all of these things are transpired, so I thought I wanted to be a strength coach. I was like, I'm gonna be the best strength coach in the world. I'm gonna be strength coach at Ohio State football. I'm gonna do X, Y, Z, all that stuff, right? Well, the reality is that wasn't gonna happen. It wasn't gonna happen in the timeline I wanted it to happen. You get that gig when you're like mid 40s. And I'm like, I can't do this for that long. So every coach that I was tight with, which you all get pretty tight, they all just saw how much I like loved helping people, but also like loved pushing myself. And they all actually pushed me to get out strength and conditioning and go be a freaking bodybuilder and whatever that entails with a job, do it. And so I actually picked up a job at LA Fitness in Cincinnati. I started working there. I was working the front desk first because they don't hire you straight in as a trainer. They didn't at the time. So I was working the front desk, working my way in, just everyone getting to know me and stuff. I transitioned over to a trainer position. And that was a huge step for me. It's wild looking back. Like, man, I was really apprehensive to do that. I like wasn't sure if I was ready. I wasn't sure if I was good enough. I wasn't sure if I was qualified. I wasn't, all that stuff. There's 3 trainers who were there who they all left like one day out of nowhere. And like, I got my certification in 21 hours. I did the ISSA. I had to have my mom pay for it because I didn't have any cash. She paid for my ISSA. I completed it in 21 hours. I didn't go to bed. I didn't do anything. I was on my computer for that. The next day, I finished at like 2 a.m. one morning. And my first session was at 6 a.m. the following morning. So the regional VP, his name's Will, he stayed up to get everything processed so I could go do that 6 a.m. session. And I was there, and dude, I just fell in love with it. I still remember the first person I ever trained. And it was awesome. His name's Tom. He was a big UT fan, actually. So it's funny that I live in Austin now. But yeah, I just fell in love with it from there. And, you know, obviously when you start out as a trainer, it's not like you work with high level athletes. You know, back in my day, LOL, no, back, 8 years ago, online coaching wasn't really a thing. You definitely like following people on Instagram for good like information wasn't really a thing. Back then 10,000 followers was massive. That was this huge number. That was just like, oh my God, you have 10,000 followers. It's all changed so much. It's like where I started was, just working with normal everyday people. And then I built up a huge book there. And in the meantime, I'm just training, I'm lifting, I'm getting after it, trying to get as big as I possibly can. And I realized, shit, the bigger I get, the bigger my paychecks are. I keep pushing, man. I keep pushing because people there's something to be said about someone who's more muscular, who can potentially help you reach your goals better, because that's just how people think. It doesn't mean it's true. That's how people think. Built up a big book, went and did my own gym with a friend of mine, and it was a huge success. We did really good. And then I did my first show. I got last place. I didn't beat a single person. It was men's physique too. Friggin' men's physique show. I was like 170 some pounds on stage, 6 feet tall. So I'd gotten up to like 205, and then I like prepped down to like 170, and I prepped myself. It was horrible. I looked terrible. I should share this picture sometime. People would like that. But I really fell in love with it. And then I did my second men's physique show, and I was backstage, and I was like, man, all the bikini girls just keep looking at the bodybuilders. I think I should become a bodybuilder. And sure enough, I ended up as a bodybuilder. It's wild, because it's like, how in the world did I get here? But it's like, it happened. You fall in love with the process, man. And I really think the best bodybuilders fall in love with the process. My best athletes that I coach, they love the process. The end result's cool. Being on stage is cool. We love it. But it's, the dieting, the training, the pushing yourself mentally every day. It's the recovering. It's every single component of bodybuilding. I love it. I love it. It's like, this is my artwork. I was like the kid that struggled to even pass the art classes and the music classes, growing up. I thought it was the biggest waste of time. I hated it. It didn't make any sense to me. Anything I tried making sense of, it just didn't work. Like, this is my creative outlet. And so since then, I've just been constantly pushing my methods, my beliefs, and trying new things. I constantly challenge my methods and my beliefs. I constantly listen to people on podcasts or YouTube or whatever that have different or opposing beliefs as mine. It's like, I'm going to be the best coach in the world, and I will become the best coach in the world. And there's only one way to do that. You need to understand the entire spectrum. Like, my way is not the only way. There's other people that are getting as good as results doing it a complete opposite way. And if you can't understand how that mechanism's working, then you don't actually fully understand your own mechanism. At least that's what I believe. And so, now I'm much more on the coaching side than the competing side. Obviously, I did compete earlier this year, and I won the show, which was really cool. It was a great show. Actually, two of the guys who I beat have turned pro since then. I'm like, man, I'm still here, just a shitty amateur. How that happened? Hold up. No, but I'm way more focused on coaching now, and I got a lot of high level people who, I got my first Olympia competitor this year. Ashley Jones she won the Texas Pros going to the Olympia women's physique. I've got a classic guy that I really believe can make it next year. I've got 2 figure girls I really believe can make it. I've got a bikini girl I believe can make it. So like, giving them my all to help them get, as close to an Olympia champion as they can become, that matters more to me. So not sure if I'll compete again. Well, I say that and everyone around me doesn't believe me, but we'll see. We'll see, man. I like coaching a lot more.
Talk to me about mentors, coaches, whether that's, somebody face to face with you, or, you know, somebody's content that you consume kind of early on in your training career, coaching career, that has had just a profound impact on maybe not just you as a coach, but you as a human being? Because the better we become as a human being, I truly believe we will become better at whatever profession or passion we are pursuing. So early mentors, early coaches, any early influences in fitness training that you would like to touch on? Because I really feel like that is a game changer for most of us at some point in our lives, Justin.
Absolutely. It was huge for, I mean, paramount for me. You know, Matt Jansen is the first person that comes to my mind. He's by far, he's more than a mentor to me. He's a close friend of mine. He's someone that, you know, I confide in and, you know, I trust with anything in my life. Just the way that he handles all of the hats in his life, you know, he's a father first, he's a husband, he's an Olympia level, he's an Olympia champion coach. He's a co-owner of the most influential supplement brand that there is right now in Revive and Raw. The way that he handles all of these is unbelievable to me. And he always makes time out and has time to, you know, just have a simple conversation with anyone and everyone. He makes you feel really good when you're talking to him. He's just a wholesome guy. Matt Jansen is definitely number one. He's my coach as well. So I hired him. I was like, I don't look up to many people. I look up to this guy. And, you know, it's also about, I wanted to hire someone who coaches the way I coach, like does things the way that I do. We're very in line. I mean, we were going through that whole prep, and I remember he would like do something in the prep, and I was like, oh, I did the exact same thing. Exactly what I would have done. Like, it's a perfect match there. Shane Hughley's massive for me. I looked up to him really early on, and we become really good friends. I think Shane is just, he's A+. He's one of the most misunderstood people in bodybuilding because he's quiet. He doesn't talk. He just wins. He doesn't share content. He doesn't share information. He just wins, dude. This is what he does. He takes care of his athletes and he wins. And, you know, Shane is someone that I look up to a ton. I really appreciate our friendship a lot. Andrew Vu is someone who I look up to a ton, and I really appreciate him a lot. You know, those three guys really stand out. Dom, the owner of Revive, is a big one for me as well. You know, I was the first sponsored athlete for Revive, which is really cool looking back on. But like, they reached out. Matt reached out to Hayden Schneider. I think most people know who Hayden Schneider is, and he was like, Hayden was very involved in their in the launching of Revive, is my understanding. Matt reached out to him, and Hayden's like, you need to get this Justin Mihaly guy. Like, this guy, he put in a very good word for me, to say the least. And, you know, so I look up to Hayden. I look up to Hayden a lot as well. What he and Katie have done, they've changed this entire industry. I mean, they are absolutely amazing people, A+ people. They've changed. I mean, Katie Hearn was like the OG online coach. Like, she was the first one who was making tons of impact through online coaching. Like, she was a pioneer for the rest of us. And, you know, it's amazing. You know, she kind of grew this thing and allowed this to turn into what it is now, the entire industry, into what it is now. So, you know, I look up to them a lot. You know, I think those people had a massive, John Meadows. How could I forget John? He was a great mentor of mine, a great friend, a great human. It was devastating when you know, we got that news, but you know, may he rest in peace. And you know, we're going to continue carrying on that torch down here, because he taught so many of us what, you know, he so many of our beliefs came from John, and he was a pioneer of pushing bodybuilding, the integrity behind it, the protocols, the methods behind it. He was a pioneer of these things. And, you know, so yeah, John was a big one, man. Like, I really want to make that guy proud. And he was huge for all of us, really.
How did you end up in Austin, Texas?
So I was living in Columbus. My ex-girlfriend and I were there, and we were both like, "Dude, we need to get out of here." And like, I started having some coaching success and whatnot. I have some good athletes on stage, and I figured it's now or never. I don't have any kids. I don't have anything hold me back. All I own is what's in my 800 square foot apartment. And so we were traveling around America, just like, what cities do we like? Man, we came to Austin and it was game over. I was like, yep, this is where I'm moving. We had only been together like 6 months at the time. I was like, I'm moving and I really, really, really want you to come. And, she ended up coming down with me. We both still live here. We're both thriving, doing very, very, very well. But this is home. This is absolutely home to me. I love it here, man. I'll never leave Austin.
I mean, I've heard great things about Austin. I know there's a lot of, fitness there in that community. What is it? What is it that's unique or special to you about Austin, Texas?
Man, I think the friends that I've made down here, it's like, you have to really have a different mindset and a special mindset and a special set of skills to make it as an entrepreneur in Austin, Texas. Like, this is one of those places that everyone moves to. It used to be LA. I moved to LA, I make it big. Now it's Austin. And there are some sharks out here, man. Like, people just they'll do anything to get a step ahead. I have some really great friends down here, who really inspire me and push me. They don't do podcasts or social media or bodybuilding or fitness. They're just friends that I've been fortunate to be around. And, they're all entrepreneurs, very, very, very successful in their own right. My home gym is here. House of Gains is here. I moved all my team down here, like Team Mihaly. When I moved here, I didn't have a single client here. And, now between my coaches, myself, and the staff that moved here, there's over 50, just in Austin, like just in one place. I didn't really have many Texas athletes at the time. Now the team has over 125 just in Texas. Like, we're everywhere, which is really freaking cool. It's, the weather's always great here. It's freaking hot, but it's great. If you can deal with July, you can get through July, the 110 degrees and the brutal humidity in July, then the 70 degrees in December is fantastic. It's great. It's the weather was big for me growing up in Ohio. I was like, I never want to see snow again. It was like, as soon as I make enough money to not see snow, I'm never going to see snow again. And that's what I did. The food scene down here, I'm a big foodie, especially tacos, man. And I mean, Austin has some great street tacos. I love Austin. Like, people. So, I was back in Ohio over the weekend, or 2 weekends ago, for a wedding, and then to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for North American Championships. And while I was gone, I was like, man, these people aren't near as friendly as people in Austin are. Like, holy shit. Like, I'm not used to it. When you live in Austin, it's a choice to live here. Most of these people moved here. And so you made a choice, like, move to a city that you really loved. And I feel like if, people who are stuck in the Midwest and haven't figured out their path to get out yet are looking for their path to get out. And so, of course, you're going to be inherently nicer where you live, somewhere that you actually love and you're actually flourishing. Man, Austin has the nicest people I've ever been around by far. So yeah, it's cool. A great bar scene down here too. I don't drink much, but it's fun to like go out and, watch a game and, just hang out with the boys. It's a good time, and it's great to do it down here.
Excellent, man. Yeah. I'm in Iowa, so I definitely understand, the Midwest thing. I moved back. I was living in Denver. So Denver, from my understanding, Austin, there's a lot of similarities from what I've heard.
Yeah, Denver's awesome. Denver's really cool. I've never been to Iowa, but I know Brett Wilkin is
up in Ohio, so
about the same thing.
You got the corn, you got the land, you got small towns, you got football, you got wrestling. That's
literally it.
The Midwest, right?
Yeah, it really is. That's all the Midwest is. I love it too.
Okay, so you brought something up that I really want to touch on, and you mentioned the word entrepreneur or entrepreneurship, and this is something I think that a lot of us within the fitness industry specifically within bodybuilding, physique type competition, can learn a lot from. And because we see with social media and all that, that's kind of the route. It's not the big contracts or anything like that. There's a lot of money within the fitness industry, but it's just, having the business wherewithal to pursue that money and make that money. So somebody who wants to kind of start from ground zero, how would you encourage them? What are some steps that you would tell them to take from ground zero to build, a training business, a coaching business, to open up their own gym, kind of the normal, typical things within the fitness industry, the bodybuilding industry? What's some advice you would give in terms of entrepreneurship and business to those people, Justin?
Yeah, number one is understanding who and what you are. We have a lot of I feel like the coaching industry was making huge steps forward, and then I feel like we've kind of started slipping back a little bit. You are what your resume is at the end of the day. If you're starting out and you don't have a resume, just understand, like, that's okay. And that's where we all started, but that's where you're at. And work every single day to change that resume. And who are you? What are you doing that's different from other people? Why should someone hire you over me? Why should someone trust you? What have you done to earn other people's trust? I mean, if you're hiring someone to help you with your health and fitness goals, that's a massive trust step, right? So what are you doing to earn that? That's number one. And you have to be really true to yourself and really real with yourself as well. I don't believe faking it until you make it works. And I can promise you, as someone who I believe I took the right steps to get to where I'm at, do not start acting like something you're not and stepping on the toes of good coaches. Like, you will be eaten alive in this industry. And I won't make sure of it, but other people will make sure of it. There's other coaches who will absolutely make sure of it. That's first and foremost. Be real, be 100. Number two, what's your value? I mean, like, really, what's your value? If you don't have a resume, what's your value? We got people coming in. We got people with 200,000 followers just coming in because they have this genetically gifted physique or XYZ, whatever. Just like, oh, $400 a month for coaching. For what? And, yeah, of course, like, you're going to get these, low hanging fruits who just want your help, and they look up to you so much and they want to talk to you and have communication with you. But like, what, you can't actually coach them. You don't even know what thermogenesis is. You don't even understand what diuresis is. Like, you don't even know how to carb cycle. Like, be real, be 100. That shit pisses people off too, because we see it like you're scamming others. And hey, you know what? If that's how you build your business and you make your money and you grow it, like, I know people who's been scamming people for years and they still make their cash, right? Because there's still women who will sign up with them, or men who will sign up with them just because they want to chat with them. Be real with who you are. Like, grow your value that you can provide to a place where you can charge those high dollars and you don't feel bad charging, because you know you're that good and your clients are going to get that from you. So value, focus on your value, hire mentors. I'm launching a mentorship pretty soon here after the Olympia in November. That, it's good. It's going to be good. And I know John Jewett has one. I know Matt Jansen has one. Not a lot of other people. Austin Stout, he was one of my mentors. Outside those people, I wouldn't really recommend. Sam Miller has to go in. But like, hire these people, dude. Yeah, the price tag's on, it's huge. Because what you're getting is everything that I've done in 8 years condensed down to you and handed to you, gift wrap with a bow on top. Everything Matt's done, everything, Austin's done, all these people, like, what you're getting this extreme discount. I put 8 years of my life into this so far, and you can get it for a couple $1,000. Holy shit. College is going to take $100,000 from you. You're not going to learn near as much. Like, I mean, like, invest in these people so you can learn, you can grow yourself. It's not just for people who want to coach competitors. It's for anyone and everyone who just wants to coach people to be better. So number one, be true. Number two, value. Number three, service the hell out of people. Like, I believe in coaching with love. When someone knows you love them, you can coach them hard. When someone knows you love them, you can hold them to a very high standard. you can't, you can't just be an asshole to people who don't really know if you love them or not. And there's times as a coach, I'm an asshole. Like, dude, I want to win. Like, this is my name on the line too. It's not just yours. It's not just your time. It's not just your sacrifice. It's not just your performance. This is mine too. This is a team effort. And we're going to do this thing together. And so if I'm an asshole, it's because I love you. I want you to win. And my athletes know that I love them. Well, most of them do. If you're giving me 100, I'm giving you 100. If you give me 50, I'm only going to give you 50. So, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. And I think those three things, it sounds so simple, it might sound cliche, but people need to understand there's not a secret code. There's not this secret nuclear code that's stored in Austin, Texas that people come down and tap into, and all of a sudden they're freaking coaches. That's not how it works. Like, it is a lot of compounding interest, and you've got to pay your debt every single day if you want to be anything in this sport. Because the reality is, if you're getting this right now, there are people really far ahead of you. But at 8 years from now, you can be, sitting in this chair on a podcast with someone and be impacting, thousands and people around the world, and, winning shows or whatever your goal is. You can have it. But most people, you tell most people 8 years, I don't have that kind of time. That's okay. You weren't cut out for it then. And that's why so few people make it. I feel like I really believe that's why so few people make it.
What's your just day to day? What is your mindset? Where's your mind at in terms of like your focus? Do you have like a mantra that you kind of keep on repeat? Like what is that mind of Justin Mihaly every single day when you wake up and you know that you have another day to do what you love and what you're passionate about?
Yeah, honestly, it's super simple. It's like get closer to the W. Every individual. So I talk to all my athletes on WhatsApp, and every individual WhatsApp conversation, we have our own W that we're chasing in there. When I open Ashley Jones' WhatsApp, we're chasing the Olympia championship. If I open Ashley Ayul's WhatsApp, we're chasing a Kentucky Muscle Pro debut win. If I open Brandon Cooper's WhatsApp, it's a Kentucky Muscle Pro win. Everyone has their own W's. If I have a client in a health phase, we're chasing perfect blood work or perfect Dutch reading to be healthy enough to push performance higher. What's the W? Just chase the W. My W is seeing my client succeed. My definition of client success is if you competed, did you win? It's yes or no. It's very clear cut. If you're a health fix or health phase client of mine, did we get things fixed to where you're feeling better and you're able to operate like a healthy human now? And if so, then that's a W. It's a yes or a no. It's really simple. If you hire me to get on stage to do your first show, the standard doesn't change. I expect you to win your open class in your first time on stage. Did we achieve that? Yes or no? So truly, it's that simple. Earn the W. Go in, train, and I get a little bit better. Even though I'm not really focused on my own bodybuilding, I still want to get better. Like, I don't want to be backstage at the Olympia not looking like an Olympia coach. I want to look like I belong. Within my learning, I listen to podcasts, listen to YouTubes all day, every day. Did I learn? So I have to go to bed learning something. There's something I have to do that's better than, how I woke up in the morning. I hold myself pretty strict to that standard. So truly, this is way too simple for most people, but to me, this is the deepest line I have in my life. Just earn your W. Did you do what it takes? And don't stop until the answer is yes. Your work day is not done until that answer is yes. And sometimes it takes a little bit more than other days. Like yesterday was a hard freaking day, but at the end of the day, it was a yes. And today's a much easier day. So it'll be a yes.
Very good. I want to ask you, we're going to kind of start wrapping things up here, but I want to ask you, prep pitfalls. What are some of those things when an athlete is actually in prep that causes them not to earn that W, as you would say?
Thinking too much. Don't think. Just get in robot mode. Turn into a fucking robot, dude. Like, it's that simple. It's really that simple. And a lot of folks, especially early on competitors, they hire the people who are a little bit cheaper, than who they really wanted. Don't do that. this sport's very, very expensive, not just financially. Mentally, it's expensive. Physically, it's expensive. With your health and your longevity, it can be expensive. Do it the right way. Don't overthink. Leave all the thinking to your coach. If you don't trust your coach enough to leave all the thinking to them, get a new coach. And it's not a fault of the coach. It might be a fault of yours, but there's something going on that probably can't be fixed there. You have to trust that, hey, you know what? This person is going to bring me in the absolute best that I can. Don't overthink. When you wake up, you're 4 weeks out and you're lean, when your feet hit the floor, you're not going to feel good. Don't think, go. Don't hesitate, just go. Now, if you really start feeling bad in prep, you need to let your coach know, because it shouldn't be like that terribly bad to where like I can't even stand up. That sounds like, a health issue going on. But don't think, turn into a robot with the logbook, with your progression in the gym when you're training. What number do you need to hit? Hit it. Just I don't care about anything else. I don't care that your gym crush wasn't at the fucking gym that day. I don't care that you got in an argument with your mom before the gym. I don't care that it was hard to get your last meal down. I don't care that you're hungry. What do you have to do? We have data for every single thing that we do. We have data for your food. We have data for your training. We have data for your cardio. We have data for your recovery. We have data for your pictures. What needs done? Do it. Period. I mean, it's that simple. If you attach emotion to your prep, you will lose to someone who only operated with extreme logic and went into true robot mode. You will not beat them. That's what I think a genetically gifted athlete is. Who can just, all right, I'm a robot. Those are the ones who are going to go far. I've never had an emotional, actually, I take it back. I had one athlete that I turned pro. It was an emotional wreck. Put it nicely. No one else has ever won a show. All of my people who win, they're robots. They just go, and every coach will say that. You have Hughley on here, you have Jansen on here, you have Vu on here, you have Jewett on here. They're all going to say the exact same thing. The robots win. The people who are emotional tell you that you're mean. They leave you. They badmouth you, and they never do anything in the sport anyways. Turn into robot mode.
One other thing, and then I want to touch on something that you posted back in July on your Instagram. Digestion, gut health, for bodybuilders, for competitors. Would you just take that and run with it, please?
People need to focus way more on it. People need to focus way more. Like, what is good gut health? Good gut health is like not being bloated longer than like 30, 40 minutes after a meal. Now, the reality is, if you're a dude at the end of the night, you're pushing food, and you just finish your fifth. I don't like doing 6 meals. I like doing like 5 meals. You just finish like your 5th meal of the day. You're sitting there, you have 6,000 calories that day, dude. You're probably going to be bloated. All right. You're probably going to have some shit happening. All right. So this is like, if you're not in a place where you're pushing food that hard, you're just bloated, or all of your stools are loose, or you only poop 3 times a week. I just took on a girl who just had her first bowel movement in 8 freaking days because she's been eating nothing but chicken and rice for 9 months. Every meal was chicken and rice, no vegetables, no fruit, no variety, nothing. Like, that's not normal. It's real easy. You can kind of tell if something's off, right? I believe that we should almost all be taking a good probiotic. I believe that we should all be having some greens. Like Revive has the GI, the greens powder, and glutamine all. Glutamine is going to help repair your gut. The GI is promoting a healthy gut biome, promoting healthy gut processes. The greens, it's greens. It's like greens and fruits combined. Pretty straightforward, right? These are really good things for you. We know this is healthy for your gut. Wake up every day, have your gut health shake. I do 10 grams glutamine. I do 8 grams of the GI. And I do 16 grams of the daily greens. I do that every morning. I think that we should have foods that are natural probiotic. Things like sauerkraut. Throw some sauerkraut in your day. Man, like that stuff is absolutely fantastic. And there's a type, it's slipped my mind right now. It's like you asked me at the wrong time, but there's a certain type of probiotic that comes from the soil, probiotics and prebiotics that come from only the soil. You can only get it from the soil. And so a lot of probiotic foods have that in them. And I think sauerkraut's kind of my go-to. I think having a good probiotic is solid. a lot of people question, like, what's a good probiotic? What's good? What's not? I personally use refrigerated probiotics because I know that a few years back, the bacteria had to stay cold in order to stay active. My understanding is things have changed. Technology has changed. There's now probiotics that are just still stored like on the shelf that still have the active bacteria in them and stuff. I think that's really important. I think monitoring the water that you drink with meals is important. This is something that's really overlooked, but your enzymatic balance can be really thrown off if you're just crushing water, while you're eating a meal, because the digestion starts as soon as the food hits your tongue. Digestion starts, and your enzymes in your mouth, the saliva, starts breaking it down, and all the way down that food gets broken down. We have people crushing water, crushing sodas, whatnot, and flushing all that saliva down to where you swallow your food, it goes out into your gut, no process has even begun, and now it's in your gut and you're way behind the 8 ball. This is massive. Every step, the saliva, your tongue, throughout your channel all the way down, every step has a massive process, a role that they play in the process of digestion. So I personally, I like just not drinking water when I eat, and I never have digestive issues. I'll drink water before, I drink water after. I just don't drink it while I eat. It's like, especially if a meal is high in protein, carb, and fat, like, dude, you need all the help you can get. Understanding, what good digestion is, which is just simply your stomach always feeling right. Bloating not last longer than 30-40 minutes, bowel movements that are consistent, whether it be 2 a day, 3 a day, 4 a day, whatever it might be. I mean, honestly, there's some people that just have 1 a day and they're good. Like, they're good with that. So just understanding like what good gut biome is really important here, and more bodybuilders need to be focused on it. But if I leave with one tip, minimize the water you drink during a meal, and I guarantee you see an increase in your digestion.
That point you just made with the water, I was having some acid reflux at one point, pretty bad, and I'm like, I got to do something here. And I heard about the water thing, because I was always the guy, I would drink, the amount of water that I needed each day, but the majority of that water came during meals, and I that does something with the like dilutes the acid or something like that helps with the food. And I stopped doing that with the water during meals, and that the acid reflux went away. So
amazing,
great point. And it was funny because I saw a top IFBB pro the other day just through social media down in the meal and then guzzling a bunch of water. I'm like, oh no, dude. I was like, and he's really young, so he's probably got a lot of time, but I was like, dude, when you start getting into your 30s and stuff, things really do start changing. And I was like, oh, that might catch up to you, but
it's going to catch up to him.
great point. So I want to kind of wrap things up, Justin, with, and I kind of brought this up to you before we started our conversation today. I want to read this. It's kind of a longer post on your Instagram. You posted it back in July, but I want to read this. And I just want you to touch on it, because I think it's something that all of us today in this moment need to hear. So I'm going to read it, and then I want you to just break it down a little bit, if you don't mind. It says, I've been absent. Environments in which we are forced to hide our flaws are toxic. Well, on social media, with how easy it is to garner attention, praise, and everything else that makes tribal beings feel acceptance and worthiness, this is my place where I am told I'm good enough, I'm looked up to, I'm admired, and I'm powerful. But in my personal life, I'm not very happy with my 2021 performance. So I've been absent. Because I haven't been good enough, I haven't been who and what I want to be, and haven't done the crap that I need to do to be the leader, the business owner, and the man that I want to be. So my disconnect right now with social media couldn't be deeper. I don't have a lot to say or share because I'm not very aligned with myself right now. I'm really only aligned with my work, as that's what makes me tick every day. So I've been absent. And I apologize for that, as I know my podcast, my posts, and my thoughts generally help people. But by focusing too much on constantly helping others, I've lost any ability to help myself. I'm not who or where I want to be. So here's what I want, if you don't mind. I don't need pity or anything of the like. This post isn't for that. I need you to check on your friends, the strongest friends you have. Check on them. Make sure they're okay. Make sure they're actually good. It's easy to let it slip when they're constantly the stronghold for everyone else, but they need your strength too. And you're stronger than you realize. I'll be back to normal soon, but for now, I'm hyper focused on my athletes, my small circle of people who I know are elite humans, and I'm focused on pushing myself further than ever before with a couple of your close friends or confidants by my side, pushing me and holding me extremely accountable. Justin Mihaly is under construction, and the end result is going to be good.
Yeah, I was going through some shit. Yeah, back in like, I would say like May through July, I was struggling, man. I was not in a really great place. I was struggling with who I am, like what am I really doing? How am I really showing up? I get so hyper focused on my athletes and their performance in the next win that it's like, I feel like I was doing a disservice to people around me, because they don't get any of me. Like my work day was done and I was just gone. I was just completely out of it. I had a lot of mental battles that I needed to fight that I just kept pushing back because every weekend I have athletes competing. And every weekend I have athletes winning. And like, that's the boost or the validation or the bump that I need to just ensure like, oh, everything's okay. Like it's not that big of a deal. Well, everything's not okay. And it kind of collides down and falls on you. It's like when you build something that's like special and impactful and unique, it's all a glass house, right? Mine was kind of a house of cards, and I felt it start to kind of crumble down because some personal life things were happening, some things were popping up. But also, man, there were a lot of people who wronged me in that time, who really, really, really wronged me during that time, people that I'd done a lot of good for. And I needed to reflect on what exactly happened there and how did things go down and what was my fault or what was my flaw within these scenarios. And now it's interesting, everyone's kind of come back and apologized and tried to like make things right and whatnot. Yeah, there for a minute there was a lot of hate coming my way, a lot of bullshit online that people just like talking. They know nothing about anything, they just love talking. And I guess I'm proud that I've built my brand and my name into something that garners clicks and attention. But dude, like this shit hurts people, especially when it's just like, this isn't even accurate. Like, what is happening here? I try to just be a good person and I try to just like do the right thing. And like, none of us are perfect, but I know that I try really freaking hard and I put a lot of effort into it and I take it really seriously. This entire platform that I try to use it for the betterment of other people, not just my athletes, people who aren't my athletes either. And the podcast was huge. We were getting like 120,000 downloads a month. We had all kinds of sponsorships and stuff. And then in April I dropped off a little bit because of prep getting really deep, and I competed in May. But I kind of realized around this time, man, I was pushing that podcast really hard because I was making a lot of money from it. Like, that's not why I started this podcast. I started this podcast just to help people. And getting back to that root was huge for me. I think I'm getting there with that. There was a lot going. I was in a dark place. I was in a rough spot. I remember I was sitting in my hotel room the night before NPC Universe, where I had a couple athletes competing at. And man, I was just sad and depressed. And I just texted one of my friends and I was like, man, I don't need anything. I don't need you to do anything. I want you to know I'm good. I'm okay. But I am really fucking struggling. And I just needed to tell somebody. And it felt better after telling someone, after like someone knew. Now no one knew. I hid it so well. I felt instant relief from that. But then from there, that's kind of when I went under construction. And, I made that post about a week after I really started struggling, because I had not been active on socials. I had not been active on anything. I feel like I've really been able to, with the help of, people around me, I've really been able to kind of pull myself out of that. And it's like full steam ahead now. It's like, I keep in mind every single day. I do something every day that's for myself, by myself, just with myself, to kind of help me assess where I'm at, help me grow, help push me further. Because the reality is, the better person, the better man, the better human I can become, the better coach and the better leader I can become. And I'm going to be the best coach in this industry. And so I need to be working on myself just as much. And yeah, I had been. I'd been putting everything just into my work. And that's it. That's a toxic environment to be in. When your work is the only thing that matters to you, you're not a good person at that point. So yeah, I feel like I've come a long way since then. And I'm proud of myself since then, for sure.
What's one thing that you kind of do for yourself to kind of help you stay aligned with the direction that you want to be going as a human being?
Yeah, every morning I go on like a 45-minute walk with my pup, with Peyton. We just go on a walk and I listen to music, and I'm just able to get into this meditative or flow state, and just stay there and really focus, analyze every single thing, break down all my goals, break down where I'm at, break down how I'm treating people, break down my performance at work, break down my performance just as a human. So every morning I go on those walks, and man, it helps me align. I feel like the filing cabinet in my head just opens up, gets organized, and then I attack the day. So actually, as soon as we get off this call, that's what I'm doing. So yeah, I do it every day, and it helps me so much.
Beautiful, man. All right, last thing here. Why Revive and Raw? What makes those brands, companies, their supplements different from everything else that's thrown at us through social media and in the industry? And before you answer, I'm a huge supporter of Revive. I've got the greens, I've got the GI, I've got the digest aid. So definitely a huge supporter coming from this end. But from your perspective, as really engulfed in those brands, why are they different? What separates them from all other supplement companies and brands?
Well, first and foremost, we appreciate your support a ton. I appreciate anyone who picks up the Revive and Raw stuff. Matt Jansen came to me saying, I want to make bodybuilding healthier. This is something I've been an advocate for a long time. And, bodybuilding inherently, it's not a healthy sport. If you're an elite bodybuilder, you're not going to be extremely healthy when you're really pursuing those goals. But the healthiest you can possibly be, the best performance you are going to possibly have, and the best end result you're going to have. Look at the industry since Revive and Raw came out. Look at the athletes that are using Revive and Raw every day. They're able to compete tons throughout the year because they're staying healthy enough. Look at the blood work that we have. I mean, my athletes, the blood work transformations I have using Revive and Raw, unbelievable. You come to me telling me that, and the thing that I'm most passionate about, you want to make healthier? Yeah, sign me up. And ever since then, that's exactly what they have done. That's what we've done. We're the only company I know of that has BSCG certifications, because we have UFC people using us. We have some other professional sports organizations coming out and using us. We have sponsored athletes in those places. Revive and Raw, to get like one supplement BSCG even tested, it's like 4 G's. And then the certification beyond that's like another X amount. Like, it is expensive to go through. It is incredibly expensive, and you have to keep up. The quality has to keep up. They'll test them multiple times throughout the year. Revive and Raw is on another level. And there's other good companies. There's other really good companies who have since come, but Revive and Raw paved the way. Revive changed they changed the game. And I'll be with them forever. They take the best care of their athletes and the people that trust them. So, you look at the best in the world. Who are they using? They're using us. So you probably should too.
I love it, man. Justin, I genuinely, man, appreciated our conversation. We did really get behind the muscle. And I appreciate you just being just real, opening up, being super transparent and vulnerable, which I know for bodybuilders like us and dudes, it's kind of like kind of hiding behind some of that muscle and the business and the grind and the hard work. But thank you so much for taking some time, opening up and sharing some of your insights with us. If people want to connect with you, where would you like to send them?
Yeah, on Instagram, I'm just @Mihaly_, and my podcast is Grow or Die Podcast. So follow along there. I have some really good stuff coming on that podcast, and I think I post some decent stuff on Instagram too.
Great, man. So again, thank you so much, Justin. I greatly appreciate your time.
Absolutely, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
For sure. So listeners, thank you so much for hanging out again with Justin and myself for another episode of Behind the Muscle podcast. Your listening ears are always valued and greatly appreciated. 2 huge favors I would ask. First of all, go to YouTube, Behind the Muscle podcast, YouTube, hit subscribe. That's where all this great content with IFBB pros, top coaches within bodybuilding and fitness. That's where you're going to find all the content, all these interviews. And the second favor, just take this episode with Justin and share it on all of your social media platforms. And then finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.